Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening to episode 9 of Indie Game Dev Report, a podcast that puts indies first. This time I've interviewed Ghostfall Studios on their hand-drawn mobile endless runner called Doodle Dash. First, of course, I'd like to very quickly promote a few other indie projects floating around the interwebs. Our friends working on the Kind Chamomile did a fantastic job on their Kickstarter. They are already over 200% of their goal. That's absolutely fantastic, and I'm super excited that they are able to get the funding that they need. We had Xavier Moyni on just recently, actually last episode, so go back and check out episode 8 if you're interested in learning more about his project and the techniques that he, with the help of Lauren Moses, used to launch a successful Kickstarter campaign in 2020. Great work with the Kind Chamomile, and congrats. Some listeners who have made it back to episode 1 will remember my interview with Encalibro with codename Malo. He's been hard at work working on the netcode for his now online brawler. It's a multiplayer brawler. Go to his Discord and join the online beta testing. The game's super fun and hilarious to play. And Encalibro is a great guy who's always willing to chat, so go say hi to him on his Discord. So recently the Low Res Jam 2020 occurred, and a friend of mine on itch, JC Bailey, released a new game called Holy Field. It's really cool, so go check that out. It's free to play. He also has Mythbearer, which is a premium price title, itch priced game, so go check that out if you like the Low Res Jam game that he made. And yeah, very cool stuff. It's a action RPG, so yeah, if you're into action RPGs, go check out JC Bailey at jc-bailey.itch.io. Very cool stuff. I'm glad to have him as a friend on itch. Every now and then I'd like to look through the Indie World Order Discord server and take a look at some other projects. And one that caught my interest is called Seedlings, which has graphics and art that are very nature-oriented and kind of intriguing in an interesting way. So it's a 2D platformer, but you play as a seed that rolls around and finds natural-looking vehicles around. It's like they're leaves or something, and it helps you to traverse the levels. So you basically shoot out of these interesting nature-oriented vehicles and make your way through the level. I thought it was really cool. I only played the demo, so the experience was short, but it was very relaxing and super inspiring because of the way that nature is used in the game. Also, the project was linked on a site for indies that I've never seen before, so this might be useful for other indies. It's specific for Godot users, though. So if you're using Godot to make browser-based games, there's a site called gotm.io. I'm not sure how you would go about pronouncing it. gotm.io. Like I said, it's specific for Godot users, so I don't think Unity users can infiltrate this site, and that kind of puts your browser game in a place that's more likely to be seen because, like you probably know, there's tons of Unity browser games out there. So there's going to be less projects in general on this site just because Unity users aren't there. But when people go there, there's a better chance that they'll see your game. So if you're a Godot browser user, definitely check out gotm.io. And I just found out about it. So if I'm just hearing about it, that means two things. Either one, that it's still relatively small, and two, that Godot is becoming much bigger. Which is great, because from what I've read a while back, Godot's plan was to be more transparent than other engines about their data usage, and if that's still true today, then that's awesome. as an indie and even just as a consumer, I think it's important that other engines come into the ring to compete with Unity and Unreal, and I always like to root for the underdogs. Of course, I still use Unity, and I don't see myself changing anytime in the near future. I definitely think Unity can learn from Godot, and I'd love to see more people using Godot. Maybe one day I'll make the switch, but the last time I tried a couple years ago, I had quite a bit of trouble finding my way around Godot, and when I first started Unity, I did not have that same trouble. So I feel like that's just a person-to-person thing, so that's just me. If you're interested in checking out different engines, don't overlook Godot for both 2D and 3D games. Definitely check it out. So this is a news show. I guess I should mention that the big AAA conglomerates are fighting again. Over what? Over money, of course. That seems to be all they care about. Not sure if they can change, and that's depressing, so I won't go into it too much, but I do think this is going to have an effect on indies. Obviously, you've probably heard by now, at this point, there's probably more that will come, but right now, Unreal is breaking the terms of service from Apple, and Apple is upset about it, and Unreal is, I believe they're countersuing about a monopoly or something like that, and now Apple is threatening to relinquish iOS and Mac licenses. So that's pretty intense if you're an indie and you're using Unreal to try to make an iOS or Mac game. Apparently now you can't. I'm not really sure of the ins and outs of that. Go talk to your people at Unreal or whatever. I don't know. But this is what we're hearing. So apparently these big AAA companies are fighting about money, and it's going to probably affect the indies. So instead of going too deep into that stuff, that you could probably get better information elsewhere, honestly, because it's AAA shit, and this is indie news. I'd rather talk about Ghostfall Studios, Doodle Dash. So without further ado, let's hear about Ghostfall Studios from Isaac and Catherine on their game called Doodle Dash. So I've got an awesome interview today. We've got Ghostfall Studios, is it?
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Ghostfall Studios?
Yeah, you sure did.
And we've got Isaac and Catherine.
Hi.
And yeah, hey, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great today. I just got a new desk. We were just talking about briefly. So I'm kind of, all over the place right now. But yeah, so I've been playing Doodle Dash, your game, just very quickly, and I really like the style. It's got like a paper background that's like kind of crinkled, and it scrolls with the screen as you run. It's an endless runner. For mobile, and the controls are quite simple. It seems like you've got double dash on your right and slide on your left. Is there anything more to the controls than that?
No, we were trying to keep the controls as simple as possible and really just focus on the style and the variety of the gameplay. I suppose like if a game is programmed correctly, then simple controls are probably the best anyways, so we can focus on enemies and that type of thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely, especially for mobile.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really want to mess with. I thought about doing like a whole HUD deal with buttons everywhere, but I've seen games like that, and it just overcomplicates things. I think, setting one area of the screen to do one thing and then the other area or half to do the other is probably the best way to do it in this situation for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think that's kind of become almost precedent in mobile, where if you're making something, especially it's almost like one of those hyper casual games, except it doesn't fall into that art style. I actually enjoy this art style far more.
The market's pretty oversaturated with this type of game, but I've had this idea for a while, and I really wanted to make something that set itself apart stylistically, I guess, which is why we draw all the animations, or I guess I draw all the animations by hand, frame by frame, similar to. I took all my inspiration from Cuphead, actually, which I don't think very many people are on that level. But with my own limited ability to draw, I think we've made something with its own unique and interesting style. So
No, I think that's great. Isaac, I think you did an awesome job there. I think most people, when they saw Cuphead, they were instantly just kind of demotivated in a way, like, oh, I'll never be able to do that kind of thing. And well, oh, someone took my great idea, because I'm sure a lot of people had that
yeah,
idea of, I would like to put hand drawn art or painted art or some type of art into, some type of fine art into a video game. And now that we have the technology to do that, the bar has been raised. But
yeah.
what I like about your game is that, first of all, you're clearly not a bad artist, but you're drawing in a style that it almost plays on that, right?
Yeah, well, I really am more of a digital artist myself. I've done a lot of freelance work in like 3D modeling,
Ah,
interior renders, that type of thing. But this is really a new territory for me, and I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So,
cool.
but,
Yeah, no, what I really like about it is there's so much variety going on. Like, there's
yeah,
lightning storms that happen, and it seems procedural. Is that the case?
yeah, everything is definitely 100% procedural. Different areas spawn completely randomly based on your score. Same with enemies. I mean, obviously, certain enemies are limited to certain areas, but each run is going to be completely different from the last one, I guess. So
Yeah. It's almost like a story unfolds as you're running.
yeah, well, I mean, I think that games should incite a little bit of curiosity in the player, and it's hard to do that with a mobile game as simple as this one. But I think putting enough content in the game is going to let people have a little bit more playability with it.
Yeah, we were kind of going for that, where we can reward the player. You want to keep playing because you want to go back and discover new areas, or maybe try to make it through an area that you just found last time in your playthrough but died right away. And so it kind of rewards you to keep going back and keep playing to discover more content.
Yeah, definitely. I would think that the rewards in the game shouldn't be, you got this amount of coins or whatever. It should just be playing the game should be the reward. Like
Mm-hmm.
it should be fun to play.
Yeah, no, I'm totally getting that as I'm actually still tapping on it here.
Yeah.
So, Catherine, how long have you been playing it?
Well, this project started really at the beginning of quarantine for us.
Oh,
And Isaac told me about this idea maybe 2 years ago. He mentioned this idea in passing, but when quarantine started, he's like, I'm actually going to do it. I have time now. And so I officially got promoted to beta tester and marketing. So I've been playing it ever since he just came up with the first area that you start out in, that park area with the trees
Yeah.
and the little platforms.
Uh huh.
oh
Yeah.
wow, cool. So,
Yeah.
now Isaac, can you go into a little bit of the technical details about how you went about choosing the procedural level design? Because it's really well done. Like,
Sure.
I was just walking through like a park that seemed to like change in varying height, and then all of a sudden there was a tornado, and I'm in the desert, and there's cactuses, and there's just a lot going on. But yeah, if you could go into that a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to be putting a lot of different, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on. So the best way to do that is modularly, I guess.
Sure.
So I really just use the physics in the Unity game engine to the benefit of the game, I guess, and just drop things in generally in the correct area, and the scripts that I attach to them generally resolve themselves to be in the correct spot, I guess.
Yeah.
It just makes it like there's a much more time-consuming way to do this, which I think that if a game is well programmed, it should be a lot less work to get stuff to work correctly together like this, I guess.
Mhm. No, I agree.
As far as, yeah, I think that, yeah, in terms of like the park that you're in, there's not really much to that. The platforms basically, they just, there's like a set minimum height difference between them, and it just picks a random height difference and sets another one on top of that. And then it adds the scenery, it drops that above. There's physics attached to each part of the level, so that it looks like it's correct, like placed in the correct spot, so you don't have to record each.
So what you're saying is that things all drop from the same height, and then they just kind of land wherever the platform is?
Yeah, exactly. It's way easier to do like that, and it allows different interactions between the environment and the various environmental objects. I like that you mentioned the tornado, like that.
Mm-hmm.
That spawns in the desert area, and the desert is super uneven, but the way I'm doing it allows it to, I guess, vary with the height in a really easy to program way. You're really just letting the game engine do all the work for you.
So really the procedural part, well, I guess there's two aspects of it. You've got your height being generated kind of randomly depending on your score, right? And then you've got pieces dropping down.
Yeah, well, the scenes change based on what score you reach, and that varies randomly. So it just, each area has its own ID, and it picks. I mean, obviously, you can get to certain areas from certain other areas, and there's some areas you can't get to from other areas based on what I thought made sense. I guess there's not really too much of a rhyme or reason to that, but it bases each area transition on your score, and then everything else is just completely random. I guess there's a lot of timers going on to control stuff like the storm clouds rolling in, or the cave lighting up. You've been to the cave yet? I don't know how long you've been doing it. Yeah.
The cave was nice. I like that. And real quick, while we're on the cave, could I ask you how you did the lighting on that?
Yeah, they're just it's just an alpha mask. There's no lights, so it's just a dark.
So did you draw the alpha mask yourself?
Yeah, you can get there's packets or packs available like on texture websites with flashlight beams. So that's just the light. It's just the alpha channel on there, and the cave is completely dark, and the flashlight beam is completely transparent as you walk in. But once you reach a certain point in the cave, the darkness of the cave gets more transparent, while the flashlight beam gets less transparent, and so it kind of tricks you into thinking that you're actually turning on a light in the cave. So that actually was probably one of the harder things to implement, because there wasn't really an easy way to do that. It was just a lot of timers and trial and error to get that.
It looks fantastic,
and also to get the music and stuff to line up correctly with what area you're entering. So
yeah. Now, while I'm playing it here right now, I've got the music turned down so everyone's not listening to it, over and over again. But I do enjoy the music. Did you do the music yourself too, or is that something you outsourced?
I did not. That's done by a talented Scandinavian composer called Alexander Nakarada. He does Creative Commons zero license music that you can download and use as your own, I guess. And he's very talented, and I think he does good work.
Awesome. I'm sure he enjoys the credit.
Yeah, well, I think his website is called Creative PD, and his name is just Alexander Nakarada on Twitter. If anyone wants to follow him.
Thank you for the resource. That's awesome.
He does a lot of good music, a lot of different stuff like scoring, pretty much any type of genre. I've been able to find whatever I needed extremely easily on his website.
That's very cool.
But
I wish we were that talented.
Yeah, I'm not. You can only be at least passably good at so many things, and music is definitely not my forte. So, but I do recognize it's an important aspect of any game. So.
It takes a team to make a game, even if it's just someone to help with the marketing sometimes.
Yeah, Catherine's done a great job contacting publishers and getting advertisements to work correctly and all that. So.
And do you want to go into that, Catherine? Do you want to go into some of the hardships of marketing so far?
Well, it's been a big learning experience for me. I'm actually a math person. I was a stats major in college, but I did marketing in college, but for a restaurant. So transitioning from that to the gaming world, especially indie games, and just trying to find a publisher who will work with our size and not be too hyper casual, but still casual, and just really contacting a lot of people and getting a lot of no's, but some yeses. It's been a big learning experience for me, but it's a lot of fun, and we're still working on this and just trying to put the game out there to people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's important to not get discouraged when you're trying to find a publisher. Sometimes it just takes a long time, and mostly it's more about timing than it is about your actual game.
Sure. Well, we're not releasing this until November, the full version. We're releasing a demo on the 15th in a couple days on both the Play Store in early access and also as a public test flight link for iOS. But we're planning on adding a bunch more areas to the game to make it seem a little bit more complete, I guess. Because right now, what do we have? 8 areas?
I think we have 9 areas if you count the tunnel that transitions like into the forest.
Okay, yeah. So 9 areas.
Like 8 or 9 areas, and we have another 9 areas planned.
Yep.
Oh, wow. No, I made it to the city. I thought that was really cool. It kind of freaked me out, but it's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sliding under the trucks is key in that area.
I got really mad when I tried to double jump and hit the power lines. Yeah, not fun.
Yeah, I think that's what happened to me too.
Yep.
It's very cool. I like all the ideas. Can you go into the inspiration for the game a little bit more? I mean, you said you're a digital artist, and so I don't know. I guess stick figures make sense to make if you're planning on doing the art for a mobile game, and you don't want to spend too much time making all these assets that maybe won't fit on a mobile game, or need optimization or something like that. Something like this would be kind of a good starting point for development. Is that kind of the angle that you took?
Yeah, well, I've always kind of liked stick figure style games, but they were all digitally done, and it just seemed like almost too easy that someone hadn't thought of making like a frame by frame stick figure game before. So I just thought, why not? And this was a couple years ago when I was working on my undergrad and I didn't have time to do this, but it really wasn't an inspirational moment for me that I just came up with this. It was kind of a little bit in the making, just a lot of different influences. I know the games are completely different, but the Mario franchise has a very wide variety of environments, and I think I really there's a lot of I look for that for inspiration, not specifically for obviously gameplay or enemies or anything like that, but just for the varied nature of the environments. I'm just keeping the play style fresh, I guess.
Yeah, I guess there are no rules to it. Like, why can't you go from the desert to a forest or a cave?
Yeah, exactly. I guess.
Yeah. That's the whole point of doodling, right?
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I wanted to make it a little bit ridiculous, but somewhat believable, I suppose.
What I like about it is it's all things that you could draw yourself. Doesn't matter who you are.
Oh yeah, if I could draw it, anyone can. Trust me. So.
Well, I feel like you've drawn it in a way that is relatable, and I think that's not always easy to do from an artist standpoint. Sometimes it's easy to try to relate to yourself or some niche audience or something, but to try to make something that even non-artists can relate to, that can be very difficult sometimes. And I think that the art that you've done here pulls that off well.
Well, thank you. I think that doodle art, if you could call it art, I suppose, is very approachable. And I think everyone has made a stick figure, right? So it's fun to be able to play as one that looks like it was drawn and in fact was. So.
Well, I mean, the birds are pretty well done in the background on the title screen, right?
Yeah, the birds are. I liked making birds. There's. I think we have 3 different types of birds in the game right now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think about that. I guess I do like making birds. I like making the behavior for the AI for birds is pretty easy, but it looks cool when you're done. So.
Yeah, no, and because I'm looking at it here, what I'm seeing is the "You Died" screen actually, where it's got I'm in the city and there's power lines and the birds are just flipping back and forth, but it looks great because when birds move, they make those sudden movements. And the way the way that you've drawn it, Isaac, is that they're looking to one side, but it's kind of a 3/4 angle. So when they flip to the other side, it's a very believable rotation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thanks. The power line birds I thought were pretty cool. And I didn't actually drop those in. I wanted to try something different because the way the power lines work, it's not really touchable except by the player for certain bug related reasons. So the power lines I drew to follow the path of a parabola,
Okay.
like a graph, and then I just I have the birds spawn in the path of a parabola, and if I continue to draw them, it would arch up all the way, and it's kind of a weird effect, I guess, but I don't know. I think that's kind of a cool part of the city that not a lot of people would probably think about, I guess. So
that's extremely technical for birds, right?
yeah,
Especially in a doodle game.
yeah. Well, I mean, you don't really think about all the stuff that goes into this. No one really think about varying what the bird does in the power line to make it look believable, or spawning them not in a straight line. But if it wasn't there, it would just look weird or wouldn't behave correctly. So
I forgive me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this is your passion shining through. Is that correct? Because most people would just say, "Well, we don't need birds."
oh well, I mean, the environment in any game needs to feel like you're in it, and I think that being able to interact with the environment by having something as simple as birds that are able to be disturbed by the player and fly away is something that just adds that a little bit extra detail to an otherwise oversaturated market, I suppose. And I think that makes this game stand out.
I think you're 100% correct there with that. I think the added polish that you've done in this game is going to make it shine for sure.
No, we agree.
And also, like I mentioned earlier, there's crinkled paper in the background that scrolls with the player, like the movement. Can you go into some of the technical details behind that?
Paper? No, that's just a picture of paper. Nothing special about it. I just have it just spawns the same exact way as the platforms do. It just appears in front of the player and it disappears behind them off screen, obviously.
And then did you use like the stamp tool or something to cover up the seam, or?
They actually overlap by a very small unit or amount, so there's not really a seam. And or in terms of the texture, though, the texture is seamless. So yeah, it's just from a texture library that I subscribe to. So
Okay, yeah, that makes it easy. I was thinking that you went through, crumpled some paper, scanned it, and was like, "No, this isn't crumpled enough. I need it more. No, that's too much." I'm just imagining things, though.
No, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't have access to a lot of photo scanning equipment, but that would be cool. But
now I mentioned inspiration earlier, and I guess I was just hoping that you would mention Don Hertzfeldt. But if you've never heard of Don Hertzfeldt before, that's fine.
I hadn't until people on Twitter kept commenting. It looks like Don Hertzfeldt, and I looked him up, and yeah, it totally does. Although I think he's quite a bit more talented than I am, and I don't want to say anything like that. But people have been saying that. It's interesting. I haven't really thought about that, but I have seen his drawings before. I guess I had never heard his name, but
and anyone who's sorry, if anyone's listening and they don't know Don Hertzfeldt, you can look up Billy's Balloon is the name of his short animation that I guess was his most viral piece. But this was before virality was really a thing that artists strive for. He was just trying to make animations to make a living, and they were comedic, stick people kind of thing. But he had a little bit more expression and stuff going on, but he was
his faces were a lot kind of more characters than just an arbitrary stick figure, I suppose.
Well, he had studied animation, and that was his shtick was animations. Where we didn't really go into your background. Do you want to go into your background a little bit? Sure. You said you did 3D art, stuff like that.
Well, I've done a lot of freelance work, 3D art. I have an undergrad in computer science.
Okay.
I played Division I college football as well.
Oh, wow.
I'm in grad school studying applied math right now.
So you are a math person. Well, you both are then, right?
We both are.
Yeah,
wow.
We actually met in a computer science class that we were both taking at the same time. So
that's very interesting. Now,
that's pretty not much to know other than that. So
No, not much to know other than that.
No.
What was your forte in computer science?
Well, I think that my forte in computer science is programming games, which is why I've started programming games. I guess I don't know.
So go ahead.
I enjoy .NET programming. I guess a lot of stuff in computer science is just in your degree is just preparing you for something very specific that you'll be doing later in whatever job you get. So it's a little bit more broader knowledge about a specific topic, I guess. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're using assembly every day.
No, I'm not using assembly to program this game. But.
So, yeah. Is assembly something that you had to learn?
Yeah, assembly, for people that don't know, is basically it's one step above ones and zeros, and it's quite a technical way to program. Basically, it's just you're talking right to the CPU without any sort of compiler as a middleman, and it's quite a difficult and slow language to program in.
Isn't it in like hexadecimal or something like that?
Well, you don't write in hexadecimal, but the errors are in hexadecimal. So, and it's different for each computer architecture, I guess. Suffice to say, I'm not programming this game in hexadecimal or in assembly. Although I believe that early Nintendo games were programmed in assembly.
They were
for the SNES and the NES.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that's a little bit about me. Really, not much to know. I'm not very old, I guess. Haven't really done much yet, but so far,
Is this your first commercial product or project?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've worked on commercial products before, nothing too big. A lot of freelancing stuff for rendering like products or interior design.
Cool.
I've done stuff for like apartments and stuff like that. Nothing too exciting, really.
So, as far as 3D art goes, being a math person, did you find yourself doing more architectural stuff then because of that, or did you end up doing some organics and characters or stuff like that too, or did you just how does that? If you could blend the two together for me.
Yeah, well, I think that math really just teaches you I'm not using calculus to do a render, right? But I am using the logical principles that I learned from calculus to apply to something like a script that I need to do something repeatedly in a 3D modeling program or something similar. But I found myself, to answer your question, doing more architectural stuff and more product renders than, or at least I did. I'm not really doing that much anymore, but I think that's probably what started my interest in programming computers as a whole, was just downloading Blender when I was 12 and thinking it was the coolest thing, and not knowing anything about it, but still having fun, with the default cube. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You must be young. 12 years old. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I studied 3D animation in college actually, with 3ds Max. But I graduated back in 2009, just to put things in perspective a bit. But well, a lot has changed since then, and Blender is actually being like kind of touted as one of these big guys now. Even though it's free, you can get it. There are jobs where they say they don't want you to have 3ds Max. Or in Maya, they want you to have something that's free, so they don't have to pay for the license.
Right? Exactly. Well, that comes with important stuff too, but I think, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and for me, I think that's really interesting what you mentioned earlier about how you don't necessarily use calculus when you're rendering, but you use the tools that you've picked up in your computer science background and your math analytic mind to help you do some of the 3D art side. Where for me, I came from an artist perspective. I failed geometry. I got a D in algebra. I barely passed high school math, right? But then as soon as I started learning 3D animation, it all made sense to me. Like, I'm not saying I'm good at math. By all means, I'm not. But now it makes sense to me.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was because 3D animation was essentially I can't think of the best word for it, but
It's a motivator for you, right?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
It's a motivator. If you find an angle of math that you're passionate about and that you think is interesting, it makes it make a lot more sense if you have a practical application for the knowledge.
That's what I was looking for. Absolutely, practical application. That's the term that I was looking for. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Catherine. I appreciate that. But I think practical application is very important, and you just don't see that in at least the high school I went to back in 2004. I graduated high school, so you just don't see that, or didn't. Maybe I hope you do now. I mean, I guess you can just give kids Blender at high school now, which they should.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that with Blender, you really need to want to use it, because it's kind of definitely a steep learning curve, especially for someone that's not very passionate about or caring about doing that type of thing. But for me, the making materials in a ray tracing engine like Cycles, or what's the one that 3ds Max usually uses? Is it Octane? Octane is the 3ds Max one that you would probably have used a lot, or Arnold maybe.
Honestly, I have had a license for a long time. When I was going to school, we were using like MRay and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
really? Wow. That
yeah,
one, yeah,
yeah,
for
it's
sure.
been a while. It's been a while. But yeah, Arnold is a real fancy one that people still use. I don't know about Octane. I think Octane is right there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wish I had the money for all that stuff. But honestly, there's just not enough work for me, I think, is the problem. For me to stay in that field all the time. I still do contracts from time to time, but that's if someone else is paying for the license.
Exactly. That's when I was doing it. I always worked with Blender. It's because I grew up using that, and it's free. It's
Oh
all
yeah,
free.
I need to get around to learning it for sure.
Yeah.
I really liked ZBrush back in the day, so I don't know.
Yeah, Blender's sculpting tools aren't nearly as powerful as ZBrush. It's usually best to use the two in conjunction with each other if you're trying to make a character or something that requires that level of detail.
Right, yeah, I always felt that way about ZBrush, but it's funny. You can actually do quite a bit with just ZBrush. It's just not very intuitive at all. It's not very quick to do it that way. Like
No,
you can do mapping in ZBrush,
yeah, for
or
sure.
you can do animation rigging in ZBrush. Like,
Really?
but you don't want to.
Oh, I didn't even know you could. That sounds like a pain.
Yeah, it is, and it's not something you want to do unless you're like really good at it. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I guess someone probably is out there saying, "Oh, wait a minute, I rig all my animations in ZBrush. What are you talking about?"
It's a strange approach to something that's pretty straightforward, and at least 3ds Max it is.
For sure.
So where do you see the Ghostfall Studios going as far as like maybe 5 years or so from now? Where do you see yourselves?
We're hoping for at least a little bit of success with this game, which is why we're planning on a marketing campaign in conjunction with one of our publishers that said yes when it comes to closer to launch time. So hopefully we achieve some success from this. Honestly, I love making games so much. I'm sure I'll make like another one pretty soon after that.
Do you have any like notebook ideas? They're just kind of like things waiting in line, or is it all the energies at one thing? Yeah, you got some ideas in the works.
I try to not come up with ideas, because if I do, then I just end up not finishing something. I try to just, because I think that it's important to if you're going to make a game, you got to finish it, right?
That's very relatable.
Otherwise, you're not wasting your time, because of course you're learning stuff along the way. But if you want to have something to show for all your effort, I think that another idea will come to me eventually. But there's plenty of time for that, and I want to focus on making this game as best as as good as it can be, so that people can have an enjoyable experience with it.
Cool. And it seems like, I'm not saying the project is small, because obviously, like you said, there's a lot of technical things in the background that the regular user doesn't think about. And I know this because I've done some game design and some game development. But it seems like you've got the scope kind of figured out, where things are scoped in a way where you have a handle on the production and the dev cycle. Do you have a deadline figured out?
Yeah, we're going to be releasing this in full in mid-November after we implement all the rest of the areas and get a lot of other things like monetizing and similar stuff figured out.
Wow. So
yeah,
mid-November, that's like right around the corner, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, for mobile games and especially a one-man team, it's not really two people here, but really one.
You're doing the heavy lifting here.
For developing, I suppose, but it's I think knowing your scope is important because you know that you're not going to be able to, like, I wouldn't be able to realistically create some sort of massive online multiplayer game, but this is definitely an attainable thing that I think that can be achieved within a reasonable amount of time, I suppose.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
I mean, it is a relatively young project since you started working on it back just a couple months ago, really.
Yeah, I mean, it is a game right now. It works. There's a lot of other content I'd like to add to it.
Honestly, it's fun. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's fun, and I'm enjoying it for what it is. I can see areas where it needs some polish, but it's a lot further along than most games that I see that are this early.
Well, I think quarantine probably had something to do with that. So don't give me too much credit. But
well, you know what a lot of people did during quarantine? They played Animal Crossing.
Well, yeah. If I had the budget for yet another Switch game, I probably would be right there. I've been playing a little bit too much Mario Maker a little bit lately too, but
well, we all have our vices, right?
Exactly.
So, did they? Not to get personal, but did the COVID situation hit you hard then, and kind of leave you with nothing to do but making games then, or?
No, not really. I had I just finished my computer science undergrad in the winter, so around January.
Oh, so you just graduated this year? I see.
Yeah, and then I secured a graduate assistantship at the math department to pay for my master's degree, and so I really had a lot of time on my hands because it was in between spring and summer classes, I suppose. So I'm taking classes right now, but it's not an 8-hour a day type of thing, and I can work on this project with what time I have left. I think that you could just say that I'm doing enough with school or anything like that, but I think that for me and Catherine, we really want to be successful in what we do, and I think that what successful people do is do something that's hard, even when they have the excuse not to. If that makes sense, and that's kind of personal, I suppose.
Yeah, but, I mean, it really is like a 7-day-a-week kind of venture.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single day this in the past 2 months I haven't been working at least for a couple hours on this. Usually, quite a lot more than that. It's it's a lot of work, but I really think it's going to be, worth it in the end. Something that I can be proud of, I guess. But
yeah, absolutely. I mean, when someone enjoys the experience that you handcraft painstakingly, it's super enjoyable, and I'm enjoying it. Let me make it clear: the game is fun. I'm gonna play it more. I'm probably gonna find the full version and download it because it's a fun game. You know what I mean? So, like, what you're doing is great. It's helping people.
Yeah, well, I think that as times are uncertain, people can, you can play Animal Crossing or you can play Doodle Dash. Either one's fine.
It's true. I mean, people need entertainment. As much as people need to get up and create their own things and get out there and put their stuff out there, but you need to ingest other people's material too.
For sure.
Yeah, I really like what you're doing, and I think that once you kind of like, I feel like maybe you're not quite sure exactly where you want to go in games, and you're just kind of doing what's what you're capable of, and I think that's really great. But I can't wait to see where your next motivation in game design comes from. I guess.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. As far as games that, I mean, clearly you have an affinity for games. Do you mind going into where that kind of stems from?
Yeah. When I was a little, I guess it's gonna maybe date me a little bit. No, hopefully not too much. I played a lot of Game Boy, like Game Boy Advance, I think Game Boy Color. Pokemon was really my thing when I was a little kid. I think that's probably my very earliest memory of enjoying or playing a lot of a specific game. I think Leaf Green version is the one I played a lot. And Catherine's played a lot of games too.
Well, I was more into Age of Empires 2 or Civ 3. Those were the games I played when I was a kid.
Okay.
For the strategy games, I don't have great hand-eye coordination, so that ruled out a lot for me.
Not Pokemon.
Yeah, I guess I could play Pokemon, but I'm almost pretty strict. So.
That's true.
But now I play Stardew. That's my vice.
Stardew? Okay.
Valley is my thing. We play in co-op together a lot. So.
We sure do.
Awesome. And that's an indie?
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's the indie that all indies wish they could be.
Yeah, it's true.
It's an amazing game. My favorite part was the mining is like dungeon crawling a little bit, right?
Yeah, dungeon crawling is great in that game.
That's my favorite part. I reached level 10 in mining before I was even level 3 in fishing.
Yeah, I was the same way.
I think making money is the best part of that game.
I was terrible at that.
Really?
Yeah. I tried to get like some sprinklers for my strawberries, and I'm like, wait, I didn't make anything off this.
Yeah.
Ancient fruit all the way.
Yeah, it's true. You got to get that ancient fruit crop going, then you're good to go.
See, I didn't pick up on that. That's cool. So, how about films? Are you influenced by films in any? Or I mean, this game maybe not, but as far as just in your life and maybe your attitude or something like that, or just films you enjoy.
You know, I'm really just a consumer of films. To be honest with you, I'm not any. I don't have any sort of deep revelation as it pertains to the film industry. You know,
Okay.
I'll go to the movie theater and just watch whatever good movie there is at that time. But I really like movies. They're not really my main source of inspiration, I would say.
What would you say is?
Games for sure. Yeah. Just in general.
How about books at all? Do you read at all, or is that going by the wayside with
Catherine
the generation?
The family, I would say.
I'm probably more into books and movies than you are.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So, do you want to fill us in on some of your favorites?
I will watch anything that Quentin Tarantino puts out there. That's probably my favorite, like Django Unchained and Inglourious Basterds. Those are two of my favorite movies. But
okay, those are good ones. I haven't seen his most recent one. Something about Hollywood or something. I can't remember what it's called.
Hollywood. Yeah, that was. I think.
We saw that in theaters.
Yeah, we saw that one together. It was fun. I think it kind of did the same kind of idea as Inglourious Basterds, where they take kind of historical event. In this case, is the Manson murder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of created an alternate ending, just like in Inglourious, they kill Hitler. You know, so coming up with a different thing of what happened in real life, that's probably a lot more satisfying.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's a strong point. It's the satisfying ending.
There's a typical Tarantino gruesomeness too, which is great. I love that.
And for books, for me, if it's over 1,000 pages, that's probably going to be an indicator that I like it. Like,
okay, well, yeah, wow,
yeah. Count of Monte Cristo is one of my favorite books.
Yeah, she loves the classics.
Yeah.
So fiction, long fiction.
Mostly fiction, like long books. Probably if it was written in the last 50 years, I haven't read it. Most like a lot of like classics like Dickens, or although I really love like Hemingway and Steinbeck too. Some of the more 20th century classics. Those are a lot of fun too.
Wow.
That's basically all I did in high school. Well, while Isaac was playing his Game Boy, I was probably reading a book.
Yeah. I think I
Hey,
somebody
it sounds like you have a well-rounded relationship,
Yeah.
definitely we do.
despite all the math that goes on between you.
Well,
Oh, yeah,
we
that's
both
probably a
love
little bit
math for sure.
one-sided.
Yeah. Did math team in high school. Had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah,
Wow.
we were mathletes, as they say.
That's
Well,
really cool.
we were actually athletic too. I was not.
Well, whatever. I think math is going to take farther in life, anyways. But
That's great. You know, when I was in junior high, I was on Scholastic Bowl, but that's about it. That didn't last very long. As you
no.
answer questions, you like buzz in, kind of like Jeopardy.
Oh yeah,
I
sure.
never did that, but I know what
No.
you're talking about.
It's basically like bar trivia, but for students.
That sounds probably a little bit more fun than what we did. Although we did fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that's probably why we both love math. Is not so much from our classes, so much it was the having the fun, interesting puzzle solving kind of problems that you had
But
for the
mostly just competing and crushing the opponents, I suppose, to put
Wow.
it. But
So you're both kind of competitive then? Is
Very
that what
much.
I'm judging? Okay.
We don't play games where we have to be on different sides.
yeah, it's just not good.
It's
Not good
not
for
good.
not good for our relationship, I suppose.
I see. So team-based competition.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, like Heap Ho was a good one for us to play
Oh,
together.
Heap Ho.
Yeah.
That's on the Switch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one too.
I don't know that one. I'll have to
Oh,
check
you
it out.
should try it. Yeah, it's
really
cute.
cute.
It's $10 on the Switch. It's like a physics-based control each hand. Like a little blob with hands, and you control each hand with triggers, and you grab on, and it's kind of
You swing your way through these different levels, and
yeah, and it's co-op up to 4 players. I think it's quite a fun little romp.
That's
But-
cool. No, I feel like I've gotten to know you both a little bit better by asking those questions.
Yeah, thanks for asking them. We like talking about that stuff. So
Yeah. Do you want to go back into the project a little bit more? You mentioned a marketing campaign, and I'm interested to know what kind of stuff you have planned.
yeah. So why don't you talk about that?
yeah. So right now we've been talking to a lot of publishers and still going out there trying to find some more, just to try to find the best fit possible for our game.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the works of talking to some people right now there. So that's a big focus right now, just because it does take a lot of money to put a game out there and get people to know about it. So we're looking for
investing is what you're focusing on right now. Investment.
Yeah, specifically for marketing. So obviously we don't need like salary for ourselves or anything like that. We got the development side down. Isaac has that down, but
Sure.
looking for some help with just connections and getting it pushed out there to people, and also contacting lots of reviewers right now. Just like a lot of not cold calling, but cold emailing, I guess, just reaching out to a lot of people, trying to make some connections. So, and then also just kind of planning out what content we're putting out in the near future, as far as areas that we're developing, and then putting that out on social media as well.
Yep. We just want to get our stuff out there and right now and show people, I guess, the development process. And when we get closer to launch is when we're really going to start picking things up in terms of marketing campaigns and that type of thing, I guess.
Wow. And I really like how you differentiated cold calling and cold emailing, because they're very different things.
Yeah, for sure.
For anyone who's listening, don't go DMing your game to every new follower, please. That's just not how it's done. But if you're looking for a publisher, you're probably going to have to email a whole lot of publishers. That's just how it's done.
Yeah. I think that for every 20, we get at least get an answer from one of them.
Yeah.
Yes or no, usually no.
And it's kind of funny, like I'm literally going out there like on the Play Store or the App Store, just looking for publishers and hunting down their websites and then contacting them from there.
And it's not always going to be a perfect fit. You just have to cast a wide net because most people don't even respond, and the ones that do usually say no.
Like, we like your game, but we're not trying to do that kind of game right now, or we already got a project similar, or
Which, all there's a couple yeses, which we have a couple so far, and we're hoping to get a few more to solidify our options later. But you really have to cast a wide net in order to.
Yeah, and I guess this is a good time in our life to be doing that, where we have a lot of options, and it doesn't hurt to put ourselves out there.
Yeah,
for
sure.
And I'm sure you're learning a ton, and knowing what I know about you now, I bet you're taking tons of notes if you're planning on continuing this as a corporation.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I love using OneNote, so I got like so many different folders and tabs and links and notes.
She's definitely more organized than I am. But
I can't make it.
Go ahead.
We work well together.
Yeah, you seem like you work very well together. Where one is maybe lacking is not the best word for it, but where one is not as strong, the other's strength seems to pick up, and that seems very useful for both of you.
Yeah, well, Catherine's definitely better at talking to people than me, and just reaching out. I suppose she's done that a lot for her day job, I guess, and she's got a lot of experience there. So I'm really grateful that she does that and helps us out with that.
Definitely comfortable just putting stuff out there. My dad always taught me, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So I have absolutely no problem contacting just about anybody, asking them if they'll look like.
Yeah, we've contacted huge publishers just in case, right? Like you got to ask, Yeah.
Like I don't play nearly as many games as Isaac does, so this is definitely outside of my element, right? So who did I contact?
Yeah,
Isaac?
okay, so
I contact somebody.
She contacts publishers, just about every day, right? Like goes down the list, right? But I wake up in the morning and just to check my sent emails, because she sends emails from our joint account for this studio. I'm just seeing what publisher she contacted. Yeah. It was like Ubisoft or something like that. You contacted, but I guess it doesn't hurt. What's it gonna do?
The worst thing that's gonna happen is that they're gonna tell me no, and I'm gonna move on with my life. So
I don't think Ubisoft is in the business of publishing
maybe not.
Infinity Runner platformer games, but
it's not like you're wasting paper, right?
No, that's true. There really is no downside, I suppose. But yeah, that's just a funny story. But yeah, casting a wide net.
No, I think that is some really, really great advice. What your dad told you, Catherine, I think that's spectacular. Could you say it again one more time for the audience?
Yeah. So my dad always told me, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And
that's amazing.
Nothing bad is going to happen in our life if somebody tells us that they're not going to publish our game. But something really good could happen if they say that they will. So
it's true.
You
just gotta let go of your pride and just ask. And
that will be the case on just a lot of different things in life, like opportunities that I had with school, or even like the class that we ended up being in where we met. They wouldn't let me into that section of that class.
Wow.
And I said, oh, you have to let me in. And I just kept asking until they said yes. And then I met Isaac. So totally different area, but I've always been comfortable with just asking until I get the right answer, or moving on if it's not going to happen,
Yeah. It's strange. I feel like knowing when to push things, I feel like is a really good trait to have, because sometimes you can push it the wrong time and it can really mess things up. But if you have an intuition and some knowledge of when to really, really push yourself onto what you need, then that can be extremely helpful.
No, definitely.
Very cool. So I feel like we've covered a whole bunch here. We are coming up on an hour. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you feel like we need to?
No, you're very good at asking questions, I think. So thank you for that. We like talking about our game because we're really excited about it, and we put a lot of time into it. So we appreciate the opportunity to talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, just ask people if they're listening to this to go out and beta test for us. We'd appreciate the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's talk about the beta testing some more. So now I noticed you didn't really have an itch page up yet. but you just kind of made one on the fly, which is really cool. Are you going to try to get some beta testing through or what kind of means are you getting your beta testing through? That's what I should ask.
Sure. Yeah. So
test flight.
yeah. Well, what Google, the Play Store actually has a program for that where you can release an app in beta mode. So that's what we're planning on doing on the 15th. Obviously, in your case, we're sending over a couple early copies to certain people to as even earlier than that. But it'll be open to the general public on the 15th on the Play Store. And Apple doesn't do any a beta program like in their App Store, but they do what's called Test Flight, is Apple's version of that. And we're making a public link for iOS users to be able to download it as well on the 15th. So
very cool. And are you finding streamers so far, or is that something you're looking forward to in the future, or have you thought about that?
We have a couple of reviewers right now. We're looking to do the bulk of that on closer to the launch.
Cool.
Because this isn't some sort of AAA production that someone is going to remember 9 months from now, right? So we want to do it as close to the date as possible to get a maximum amount of people to be aware of it, I suppose.
That's a great point. I didn't think about that, since I'm not really in the casual game mobile like dev cycle type thing. So I'm more into like 2 to 3 year type cycles. But PC games.
Yeah.
But still, trying to keep the scope as simple as possible and still making the game fun. So I really like what you're doing here. It's very akin to the type of stuff that I'm into. It's just because of the platform, I feel like there's a bit of a difference there.
Well, we want to make a high quality game in a market full of not high quality games, and not to say that there certainly aren't high quality games on mobile. For sure there are, but I think that to really make a game stand out in the Play Store or the App Store, it actually has to be well thought out and I suppose appealing to the eye and all that. And we really hope that we can do that for people so that they can have a good experience with it.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Visibility is so difficult for indies or for anyone these days. There's just so many games out there, and like you said, it's not that there's so many that are bad quality, or it's not even that there's so many that are great quality. It's just that there's just so many. So many. You focus on your quality.
Yeah, I think there's something like 7,000 games released on Steam every year. Don't quote me on that, but I think I like that.
Well, I feel like we're always dealing with last year's numbers on that,
Probably. I'm sure it's always a little bit more each year, but yeah.
Cool. Well, I can't think of anything else to ask you at this point. I feel like we've covered a whole lot. And you've already said that you feel like you've covered everything. Is there anything else, though?
No, I don't think so. What about you, Catherine?
No, really appreciate you having us on here today, though. Yeah,
definitely. Thank you so much. This has been great. We love talking about our game, like I said already. So,
well, thank you guys both for coming out. Really appreciate it. Very awesome interview. Honestly, it's so cool to meet people that are math minded. I spend so much time around like creative types. It's very few that it just doesn't happen very often where I meet math people.
Oh, definitely. We appreciate the talking to you too. So thank you so much for that.
But I guess there's a warning that if I get a math problem, I might have to hit one of you up and say, hey, could you figure this out for me?
I have a standing offer for anybody I know. I'm really happy to help them with whatever math problem they have. I might have to do some Google, but I will help you figure it out.
It's true. That's mastered their craft is if they probably don't know how to do something as specific as what the person's asking for, but they definitely know how to Google it. So
hey, I'll trade art help for math help any day.
Sure.
It's a deal.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Catherine and Isaac. I wish your luck great, or your game great luck. Your studio, Ghostfall Studios, and Doodle Dash. I hope you do really well with that, and I can't wait to see what you do with it in the future. And hopefully, I can get you guys to come back on and talk more about your future projects or how it did after it released and that type of stuff.
Do that.
We would love to. Looking forward to it.
Very cool. And hopefully I'll be more organized for you next time, and
don't worry.
Everything will go more smoothly.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you everyone for listening, and definitely thank you to everyone who's reached out to me with feedback, whether it's positive or negative. It really helps to keep the show enjoyable and also motivates me a ton. It's awesome to get to know that people are getting something from the show. So now I don't feel so bad sharing it on Twitter. Definitely stay tuned for more episodes down the road. There's still no definite schedule yet. Obviously, I've got a lot on my plate. A few more episodes are lined up, and I'm sure there will be more after that, because there's apparently the sea of indies that we navigate, and it seems to be endless. So we can find hidden gems if we really look. Thanks again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.